What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the defensive coordinator skill trees within Madden 22. Specifically, we're going to be taking a look at both of the skill trees and deciding which skills are the best in those skill trees and which sides of those skill trees I recommend. Now, in order to get to your skill trees, you're going to go to your franchise, go to your homepage, manage staff, and go to your franchise staff. From there, you'll be able to click on the skill trees, the view talent tree option under whichever coordinator you're looking for. Today we're going to defensive coordinator, and you have the choice between two skill trees here. On the left side, you're going to have the trench play skill tree, while on the right side, you're going to have the practice makes perfect skill tree. The practice makes perfect skill tree is going to be geared more towards your defensive skill positions, meaning quarterbacks, free safety, and strong safety. Meanwhile, the trench play skill tree is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to be focused on your front seven, which would be defensive tackles, defensive ends, and linebackers. First, let's talk about the trench play skill tree. The very first skill that you get in this tree is the X Factors on skill tree, or skill, I should say, and that is very much like the offensive coordinator skill trees in that you cannot equip X Factors on this side of the ball unless you have this one unlocked. So you definitely want to get this early on if you have X Factors on your team, or you know you're going to have X Factors on your team that you're going to want to have equipped. Very quick and easy to get that one. However, you are then going to have a decision between 4 skills on the left side and 4 skills on the right side that are slightly geared differently towards different positions on your team. On the left side of things, you're going to have the in the clutches trait, which is boosted tackle for linebackers, including left outside, middle, and right outside. You're going to have shoot the gaps, which is boosted block shedding for left ends and right ends. Hot pursuit, which is boosted pursuit for defensive linemen, including left end, right end, D tackle. And squared up, which is boosted hit power for your defensive ends. You're going to have the same names for the traits on the right side in the clutches, shoot the gaps, hot pursuit, and squared up, but they're going to affect your team slightly differently. On the right side, you're going to have boosted tackle for left end, D tackle, and right end, boosted block shedding for defensive tackles, boosted pursuit for left outside, middle, and right outside linebackers, and boosted hit power for defensive tackles. Off the bat, most people are going to probably head in the direction of the left side of this skill tree. However, I don't think it's as straightforward as that. It is nice to have some of the boosts on this left side of the skill tree, especially boosted block shedding for left ends and right ends, if you're going up against a lot of outside run plays. Whenever you go up against other users, they tend to run stretch plays and things of that nature, so having your defensive ends have boosted block shedding can be very important. However, boosted pursuit for left end, D tackle, and right end, not going to be all that useful. Likewise, I feel that boosted tackling for left outside, middle linebacker, and right outside linebackers is not going to be as useful as people think. In some situations where your team isn't as good and you might not have as good of linebackers, this might be useful, but eventually in a franchise, your linebackers are going to be consistent tacklers no matter what. So having boosted tackling for those players that are meant to be consistent tacklers is not necessarily all that much of a benefit. You then have your boosted hit power for left ends and right ends, which can be quite useful, especially if you're utilizing them to rush the passer. This can affect their ability to get strip sacks and things of that nature. However, on the right side of things, one trait that I feel like is one of the most important traits in the game, depending on how your franchises play, and that's how both of these skill trees on the defensive coordinator are going to be. They're going to be heavily dependent on how your franchise gameplay plays, how you utilize your team, and what you're going up against. So in a lot of franchises, I tend to struggle to stop the run inside. Even if I have good defensive tackles, good interior linemen, I struggle to stop the run inside sometimes. So one of the most important traits for me to have personally is the boosted block shedding for defensive tackles. Getting that boosted block shed for interior defensive linemen can be incredibly important for stuffing inside runs. Likewise, I feel that boosted tackling for left end, D tackle, and right end can actually be pretty useful because these are players that are not traditionally really good at tackling. They don't get a ton of tackling upgrades by just simply upgrading them as a finesse rusher or a power rusher or things of that nature, while linebackers do. So having players that are not naturally great at tackling improve their tackling ability can actually be really valuable, because when they get opportunities at making a tackle, you want them to make that tackle. Then we have the boosted pursuit for linebackers, which I actually feel is more important than the boosted tackling for linebackers. Having that boosted pursuit, while linebackers should already be good at pursuit, is going to be much more of a benefit than their tackling in general. Boosted pursuit is going to affect how well they play the direction of the ball and pursue the play and make a play. That's incredibly important. And then the final skill, like I talked about here, was the boosted hit power for defensive tackles. This one is a little bit of a moot point. This is not something that you're going to utilize all that often, although when you do break a block with a defensive tackle, it is nice to be able to get a nice big hit with the defensive tackle. It just doesn't happen that often. You're better off having the boosted hit power for defensive end. So with that being said, I feel that there are three important traits on the right side here. I actually prefer the right side of this skill tree over the left side, but with that being said, the left side of this skill tree might benefit most users in most situations, mainly because of the boosted block shedding for defensive ends, because in user versus user situations, you're going to be going up against a lot of outside runs. That's what people like to do, so that can be one of the most beneficial traits to have. The final trait in this skill tree is the weight room trait, which is boosted strength for all defensive linemen. This can be incredibly helpful because, as we've discussed, we know that Madden likes to factor in the strength rating of players into how they perform, so boosted strength for those players can be really nice to have. Next up, the right skill tree, the practice makes perfect skill tree, is going to start off with the pliability trait. Much like with offensive coordinators, you're going to want to try to get this boosted injury rating for your defensive players early because it's going to help you keep your players on the field. Highly recommend you guys target that one early on because it's going to help keep players on the field, especially your elite talent. However, after that, we're going to have a choice between 5 skills on the left side and 5 skills on the right side. On the left side, we're going to get boosted play recognition for cornerbacks, boosted pursuit for cornerbacks, boosted catching for cornerbacks, boosted stamina for cornerback, free safety, and strong safety, and boosted tackling for free safeties and strong safeties. On the right side of this skill tree, we're going to get boosted play recognition for free safeties and strong safeties, boosted pursuit for free safeties and strong safeties, boosted catching for free safeties and strong safeties, boosted stamina for all your linebackers, and boosted tackling for cornerbacks. Now, much like with the trench play skill tree, I feel like most people are going to see this skill tree and tend to go towards the left side because of the boosted catching, pursuit, and play recognition for cornerbacks. A lot of people like to boost their cornerbacks as early and often as possible. However, in Madden 22, I've noticed that there is not that much of a difference between low overall and high overall cornerbacks. Boosting cornerbacks is not going to be as effective as people think it is, and it has not been as effective as people think it is. In my personal opinion, I actually do prefer the right side of this skill tree. Boosted play recognition for free safeties and strong safeties is incredibly important. In a game that sees a lot of broken coverages, especially over the top coverages whenever players are getting out of position and things like that, the bonus play recognition that you can have on your safeties can actually help mitigate some of those broken coverage issues. It can help keep your safeties in the right positions, and I've noticed that allowing your players to have that additional play recognition can really help mitigate some of those issues. Likewise, boosted pursuit for free safeties and strong safeties can be really useful. We expect them to make a lot of the tackles on the team, and having them in the right position and taking the right angles is really, really important. Next up is the soft hands trait, the boosted catching trait. This is a trait that I like more than the boosted catching for cornerbacks. The reason being is I personally see more interceptions interception opportunities with safeties than any other position. Now, that could just be the way that I play. A lot of other people see a lot of interception opportunities with cornerbacks. Then you might want to go this route. However, I see a lot of interception opportunities with my safeties, and I want them to come down with those interceptions, especially off of tipped passes and things of that nature. So I give this trait the edge. Next up is potentially the most important trait on the defensive side of the ball, and that is boosted stamina for linebackers. This is a position where you don't want them coming off the field. What ends up happening most of the time is your cornerbacks and safeties are going to start with between 90 and 99 stamina as a player. However, that's not the case for most linebackers. A lot of linebackers in the game are going to have into the 80s, maybe even down into the 70s, and if that's the case, they're going to be coming off the field and susceptible to come off the field more than defensive backs. Likewise, they're going to be involved in more plays, making tackles and things of that nature that is going to wear down on their stamina, unlike cornerbacks. Cornerbacks don't get worn down as much because they're not making as many tackles, not hitting as much, and therefore it is really important to get the boosted stamina for your linebackers in this game and keep them on the field, especially if you have elite players that you want to keep on the field. The difference between an elite linebacker and a lower tier linebacker, maybe in the 70s or something like that, is going to be massive, and you really don't want those substitutions to happen that often. And then the final trait here is the boosted tackling for cornerbacks versus the boosted tackling for free safeties and strong safeties. I think the boosted tackling for safeties is more important. However, it can't hurt to have boosted tackling on your cornerbacks and give them the opportunity to make those tackles that often they would miss. Now, like I said, I prefer the right side of this skill tree, but much like with the trench play skill tree, the left side of this skill tree may be beneficial to most players in franchise gameplay, especially against other users. So both sides of this skill tree are good and they are beneficial, but I just prefer the right side. And the final trait here in this skill tree is the roadblock trait, which is going to give you boosted press for cornerbacks by 3. And the final thing that I want to say about these skill trees is that, to be honest with you guys, I don't prioritize these defensive skill trees as much as I do the head coach or the offensive coordinator skill tree. I feel like those skill trees give you much better bonuses. The one thing that I do prioritize on the defensive side of the ball is getting the boosted block shedding trait, whether you're going for defensive tackles or defensive ends. Either way, I try to prioritize getting to this one, but it's very early in the skill tree, so it doesn't cost a lot to acquire this one. Likewise, I try to early go after the pliability, the boosted injury rating, but that's about it. That's all I prioritize on the defensive side of the ball. Don't get me wrong, some of these other bonuses can be useful, especially things like the boosted strength for defensive linemen. However, I very much prioritize the offensive coordinator and head coach skill trees first. Those are going to give me boosted experience points to help develop my team, more training players, more focus players and stuff like that. Those skill trees for the offensive coordinator and the head coach are going to be more important to me, so just keep that in mind whenever you're deciding who to upgrade with your staff points. And with all of that being said, hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Make sure you guys leave a like down below if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here for more content such as this. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you have a good one.